Hello, boys and ghouls. Okay, I tried that with vampire teeth in and my mouth ain't having it. Hey there, your good friend Pattern here again after a short break and a big move. Where to, you ask? Mind your damn business, I say. I'm a disembodied voice on the internet. I could be anywhere. While we're on the subject though, I got the idea for this review from my interactions in my new city. If you're detached enough from reality, anything can remind you of a video game. Especially all these Dracula NPCs darting around the streets to avoid the scorching sunlight. Recently, I was even graced by the sight of a fully naked adult emerging from the shadows of his lair, which happened to be a dumpster on 6th Street. Actually, kinda scared the living shit out of me. That's right, y'all. Today we're reviewing V Rising, the breakout ARPG survival crafto builder brought to you by Stunlock Studios. More like Sunblock Studios, am I right? I played this game a bit on launch and had a generally positive impression. Draculas are cool, ARPGs are sick, and it had progression and even bosses. I shelled out them big bucks and even went with the cosmetic bundle, but like every friend I have with a Robinhood account, still felt like I wasn't nailing the promise of instant gratification and ludicrous returns. And that's because this game is grindy. Like, super grindy. Like, Asian MMO grindy, but without all the gacha. Oh, haha, you thought Nahida banner would drop on the 3000th try. How about a kooky instead? Sorry about that. It's been a weird month. Grindy isn't always bad though, but it was enough to cut my run short in V's earlier phase. That's why we're coming back after its first massive update. The Mistlands. I mean, Gloomrot. Gloomrot. Like any game, I will place the big fat Papa Pattern disclaimer that this game is infinitely better with friends and much less of a chore. So use your sexy vampire glitter powers to seduce any pals you have, and as soon as they log out, drag them out into the sun because for some reason the game lets you do this. I'll cover some of the things I like about the game and still dislike. Then wrap it up with enough time left over for you to doom scroll Instagram reels before acknowledging you have work in 4 hours. While there are some games that have a similar vibe, V sets itself apart by what it does well. It nails that atmosphere of a gloomy grimdark with some pretty fantastic visuals and elements that are understated but make the game feel more alive, like the occluded sightline. The tilt-shifted stylized graphics make me feel like I'm playing an action game on a board game layout in a way that a lot of ARPGs just don't nail with loads of destructive environmental pieces. Zones are carefully thought out, like the devs said, you know what? Procedural's great and all, but what if we didn't just let an algorithm smash this tundra into a desert? Here's honestly my favorite part of the game. Smooching. See that wolf? Smooch him. You'll run faster. That mustachioed knight? If you smooch him, you swang your thang harder. And that grandma? Smooch your grandma. She's a great lady. She probably wiped your butt. I don't know. Bare minimum, she might have cookies. This system fits the aesthetic and delivers a new approach to how you interact with the world. 10 out of 10 smooch mechanic. You might expect combat in a game like this to feel janky or light on features, and it has its moments, but for all the other goodies packed in the trunk, delivers pretty nicely. Some skills are tied to weapons, and others are rewarded from taking down bosses. There are heaps to play around with. They also added a gem system that adds bonus perks for some added slap and power. Boss fights are usually pretty good, although some just turn into a shit show, seeing whose face can take the most punchies. And the shapeshifter forms expand on this, and a few serve utility purposes, but being a floofy wolf is terrific, and oh look, I can be the grandma now. If you'll notice, I saved base building for last because, hey, come here real quick. It's awesome, and it sucks. If we're speaking strictly vanilla, this is where a big portion of the grind comes in. But what I like about them is the snaplock system. It's just easy, and you don't have to worry about your Valhalla hut crushing you in your sleep. You can also be creative and cover the walls in cool vampire shit. But most importantly, you'll unlock the ability to hypnotoad servants and rename them to offensive slurs. I'm not a huge fan of the sun in real life. In 2008, I got drunk and passed out on a beach, resulting in sun poisoning, and believe me when I say, you don't want that shit. Ever since then, I've avoided it to the best of my abilities which is why I love video games.
Actually, shut the fuck. I'm muting you, Orange.
They don't make me go out into that UV saturated bullshit known as the world. So when a game comes along that I like and uses that same mechanic against me, I'm gonna act like a pissy little toddler about it. I might be exaggerating like a tiny bit because the sunlight mechanic isn't that bad, but it grows in annoyance after its initial uniqueness factor's worn off. There will be times where you're just trying to get home with your pants full of jewels that can't be teleported, and you hit a spot that feels like an eternity of just sitting under a shady tree. Like, what am I supposed to do here? Write a poem reflecting on my eternal torment and desire to drain the crimson tears of my oppressors? Actually, that's not bad. Let me try writing some poetry. No. I'm here to smooch grannies and slap fannies. I hate hold-up mechanics. I mentioned base building earlier. It's a mixed bag, but again, if we're speaking strictly vanilla, the fact that your base just shits its pants and dies from not being fed for a couple days is obnoxious. Other than that, the biggest gripe I really have is the time spent gathering and farming versus what you get for it. The nicest part of Valheim is the balance between those elements, which feels kind of disproportional in V. The moment that broke me in World of Warcraft was flying around Draenor, looking for a Void Talon spawn, because the older I get, the more I want a game to respect my time for what it is. I don't want to be handed everything. If I did, I'd buy a server and ramp up production, but alternatively, I don't want the distraction of being immersed in this rich and exciting world to fade while I'm doing menial chores, because it's just going to remind me of the crushing isolation and existential dread we'll all constantly face. Too heavy? Hell yeah. Welcome to my spicy thoughts. Nah. They've honestly worked a ton of this out, and the level of work that Stunlock has put into balance, additions, and care for V Rising in this update is truly staggering for a game that has had such a great foundation to begin with. I cannot express how thankful I am that they finally put a useful item in the game that you can actually teleport with. Tubes of goo become lifeblood for Radium Alloy, and this was enough to make a cowboy cry. The additional bosses are pretty cool too, and I won't spoil them like I do in all my other videos, but also, fuck this guy in particular. All my homies hate this guy. Gloomrot smashes a few themes into one, and it actually works out pretty well with the rest of the game's aesthetic. You've got your goop mutants, steampunk lads, deer with two heads, and even the giant mecha Spider-Mans. Its glowing green pools and constant cartoon lighting remind me of that early 90s action cartoon look when toxic waste looked like the most delicious substance known to man, so you'd beg your parents to go buy you a case of Ecto Coolers. This has been a really weirdly specific review. Don't worry, we're getting to the end. I liked this game when it came out, and love that the update gave me something to go back to. Despite some tedium, V has a ton going for it, but again, I feel like I've got to be blunt in that playing solo just felt kind of meh. A lot of the games I like do better with friends, so make sure you grab your amigos for this one. With that being said, it's really hard to knock any game made by a smaller studio these days that puts this much time and effort into their product, and oh yeah, it's $20 freaking. With some AAA studios asking 70 beans for a literally unplayable pile of doo-doo, you've gotta respect the rise of the smaller devs that give us gems like this, and Sex with Hitler 3D. A true masterpiece. Well, that and your boy can't afford these new fancy games.
Why? Because I'm poor!
On another note, you guys helped me break 100 subscribers, which to me is absolutely amazing for starting this as a little project to get better with video editing. I'm truly grateful and love reading comments and interacting with you guys. I have some ideas for the future, and hopefully I can get back to making these at a more regular pace soon. Till then, giving those subscribe and like buttons a few smooches makes me a happy boy. Link some socials if you want to check them out, and as always, stay tuned for more content.